The river flowed quietly at first in the early morning light, the water shimmering like glass under the rising sun. A gentle breeze moved the trees lining the banks and carried the scent of damp earth and wildflowers. The town nearby was waking slowly with distant sounds of footsteps and birdsong, and the river seemed to hold a secret of peace that made anyone who approached it feel calm and alive. She had come to this place hoping to escape the noise of the city for a few days. She wanted fresh air, freedom, and something different from the monotony she had been living. She had heard stories of the river from people who loved adventure, and she thought it would be perfect for a little solitude and exploration. She packed lightly, carrying only what she needed: a small backpack with water, snacks, a jacket, and a small journal to write down her thoughts. As she walked along the edge of the river, she felt smooth stones under her feet and the cool water brushing against her shoes. The sound of the river was hypnotic, and she felt a sense of happiness she had not felt in a long time. She noticed the bright green trees reflected on the water and the occasional bird diving for fish. She paused and took a deep breath, feeling the world was wide and beautiful, and she was a small part of it. She had always loved water growing up, swimming in lakes and rivers, feeling the current against her skin and the way the water could carry her somewhere new. She wanted to feel that excitement again, and she had rented a small kayak for the morning. She'd been careful watching videos on how to handle the currents, and she believed she could manage. It was an adventure. She needed to prove to herself that she could still be brave and careful. At the same time, the river widened as she got closer to the place where she would start her journey. The current looked strong, but not impossible. She carried the kayak, carefully placing it in the water and climbing in. She paddled slowly at first, testing the flow of the river and feeling the rhythm of the water. She enjoyed the silence around her, except for the sounds of nature and the gentle splash of her paddle. As she moved farther from the bank, the river became more lively. The current picked up, and she felt a thrill mixed with fear. Her heart raced with the excitement of being out on her own. She paddled with focus, trying to keep the kayak steady. She saw the river bend ahead and noticed that the water became choppier. She reminded herself to stay calm and remember what she had learned. Suddenly, a wave caught her by surprise, and she lost her balance. The kayak tilted, and she struggled to right it. Her paddle slipped from her hands, and the water seemed to grow louder. She tried to pull herself back, but the current pushed her quickly. She held on tight to the edge of the kayak, but it was not enough. The water pulled at her, and she realized she was being swept toward a dangerous part of the river. Panic set in. She kicked and grabbed at the water, trying to stay afloat, but the strength of the river was more than she expected. She called out for help, but her voice was swallowed by the rushing water in the distance to the bank. It seemed impossible. She began to tire, and fear filled her mind. She remembered all the warnings she had heard about the river and regretted not taking more precautions. Meanwhile, he was walking along the opposite bank, checking the river for any signs of trouble. He was used to being around the water and knew its moods. He noticed the small figure struggling in the current and immediately recognized the danger. She was far from safety, and the water was strong. He did not hesitate. He ran along the bank, looking for a safe place to enter the river and reach her without thinking about his own safety. He jumped into the water, feeling the cold shock hit him instantly. The current pulled at him, but he was strong and knew how to navigate it. He swam steadily toward her, calling out words of encouragement as he approached her. Eyes widened when she saw him coming, and a sense of hope flickered. She tried to focus on him and let his presence guide her through the panic. He reached her just as she was losing strength. He grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the calmer part of the river. He encouraged her to trust him and to stay still as they moved through the water together. The current fought them every step of the way, but he kept calm and steady. She clung to him, feeling safe for the first time in what seemed like forever. At a long struggle, they reached the riverbank. He helped her out of the water, and both of them sat on the grass, catching their breath. She shivered from the cold and fear, but relief washed over her. She could not speak for a moment, and tears ran down her face from the adrenaline and the fear of what could have happened. She looked at him with gratitude, and he smiled reassuringly and told her that it was okay and that she was safe now. She tried to find the words to thank him, but they seemed too small for what she felt. She realized that meeting someone like him in this way was Extraordinary, she felt a connection that went beyond words, and a feeling that her life had changed. In a single moment, they walked slowly along the bank to a safer spot, and she wrapped herself in a jacket he offered. She could feel the warmth and the steady presence next to her. They talked quietly about what had happened. She told him how scared she was, and he listened patiently, never judging, only offering comfort and understanding. She realized she had met someone whose courage and kindness were rare. Morning passed with them sitting by the river talking and sharing stories about their lives. She learned that he had spent many years volunteering with river rescues and had a deep respect for nature and its power. He learned that she loved adventure and wanted to push herself beyond her comfort zones. They laughed about small mistakes and shared quiet moments that felt meaningful. She felt a sense of peace she had not known before. She realized that this encounter had brought something new into her life. A feeling of safety, excitement, and curiosity all at once. She noticed how easy it was to talk to him, how natural it felt to be around him, and how her heart responded to his presence. She had never expected a river to change her life, but it has. The sun rose higher, the river sparkled and reflected the light like 1,000 tiny mirrors. She and he continued to watch the water and talk about small things. Her fear had turned into gratitude and fascination with the river and the man who had saved her. She felt that somehow this day would stay with her forever. She knew she would not forget the feeling of being rescued and the kindness of someone who risked himself to help a stranger. She thanked him again as they started walking back to where she had rented the kayak. He waved off her thanks, but she could see the sincerity in his eyes. She felt a quiet admiration growing inside her for this man who acted without hesitation. He was different from anyone she had met before, calm, strong, and gentle. All at once they reached the small dock, and she helped pull the kayak out of the water. She paused and looked at the river one last time, feeling the energy of what had happened. She realized she had learned a lesson about trust, bravery, and human connection. She looked at him and he smiled, knowing that this moment had created a bond that would be remembered. As they parted ways for the day, she felt a strange mixture of emotions: relief, happiness, curiosity, and something like the beginning of affection. She knew the river had given her an experience she would carry forever, and that the man who had saved her had become part of a story she would tell herself again and again. She felt alive in a way she had not felt in years. Day continued with sunlight warming the earth and birds singing in the trees. She walked slowly back toward the town, reflecting on everything. She felt grateful for the river, for the danger that became a lesson, and for the stranger who became so important in one morning. She thought about how life could change in a moment and how acts of kindness could ripple through days and years. Here, watched from a distance, making sure she was safe, and then returned to his own life, he felt a sense of satisfaction and quiet joy, knowing he had done the right thing and that a connection had been made. He did not realize yet how much this moment would matter to him in ways beyond the rescue itself. He smiled, thinking about the strange twists of life that bring people together. She later sat at a small cafe nearby, sipping warm tea, feeling her body relax. She wrote in her journal about the river, about the rescue, about the feelings that had stirred inside her. She wrote about the man who had been brave and kind, and about the way she felt alive again. She smiled too, herself knowing that sometimes the most unexpected events became the most unforgettable. As the day faded into afternoon, she wandered through the small town, enjoying the quiet streets and the soft sound of the river still in her mind. She felt a new sense of awareness of the world and of herself. She realized that life was unpredictable, and that courage, kindness, and connection could appear when least expected. She carried a sense of hope and excitement that she had not felt in a long time. Memory of the water pulling her and the strength of his arms guiding her stayed vivid. She felt grateful for the chance to have experienced both fear and rescue in one morning. She thought about how people could change each other's lives in small and large ways, and how moments of danger could also become moments of beauty. She felt a quiet determination to embrace life fully. Evening approached, and the sky turned soft shades of pink and orange. She walked along the river once more, feeling the calm water beside Her thinking about the morning adventure, she felt that something important had begun and that her life had a new story starting. She looked forward to tomorrow and to the possibility of seeing him again and exploring the river and life. Together, as the sun dipped below the horizon, she paused and watched the light dance on the river. She realized that she had been part of something extraordinary, even if it was brief. She felt that this day would stay with her, that the connection she had felt could grow. She smiled quietly to herself, feeling both excitement and peace. She knew that some stories began with danger and courage, and that hers had begun on the river. Night fell, and the town settled into quietness. The river reflected the moonlight and stars. She thought about the day, and the stranger became important. She felt a sense of wonder, an anticipation about what might come next. She felt that life had opened a door, and that she had stepped through it. She felt alive, brave, and ready for what was ahead. The river continued to flow silently, carrying memories of the day and whispers of future adventures. She knew that she had been changed in a subtle but deep way. She carried a feeling of gratitude, courage, and curiosity. She knew she would never forget the morning she was rescued from the river and the man who became part of her story. She felt ready to face life with a renewed heart. As she drifted to sleep that night, she thought about the river, the rescue, and the kindness she had experienced. She felt that this was only the beginning of a journey. She felt that life could be full of unexpected connections and adventures. She closed her eyes with a sense of hope and excitement, feeling that the river had given her more than she could have imagined, and that the story was only starting. The next morning, the sun rose softly over the river, and the light made the water look like it was glowing. She woke early, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The memory of yesterday lingered, and she could not stop thinking about the man who had rescued her. She wondered if she would see him again, and felt a strange pull to return to the river. She dressed quickly in comfortable clothes for another day of adventure, and walked along the familiar path toward the river with water and snacks, but left her journal behind for now. She moved quietly, feeling the sounds of birds and leaves, and the rhythm of the flowing water. She wanted to enjoy the morning without rushing. When she reached the riverbank, she saw him waiting. Nearby, he had a small bag and was inspecting the water as if checking the currents. She felt a rush of relief and happiness at the sight of him. He waved quietly and smiled. She waved back, feeling her heart beat faster than she expected. They greeted each other with simple words and smiles and began walking along the river together. The conversation started slowly at first, talking about the morning and the weather and the calm water. They laughed quietly at the thought of how dangerous the previous day had been, and she felt at ease around him. His presence felt reassuring and comfortable, and she realized she had been missing this kind of calm connection in her life. As they walked, he pointed out safe spots along the river and explained gently how to navigate small rapids and shallow areas. She listened carefully and asked questions, feeling genuinely interested in what he had to say. He showed her how to use the paddle correctly and how to keep balance in the kayak. She felt herself becoming more confident with each instruction and enjoyed learning from someone so experienced. They spent hours on the river laughing and testing their skills. She noticed how patient he was and how he encouraged her to try again whenever she struggled. She began to share stories from her life about adventures she had taken and mistakes she had made. She spoke about times she felt brave and times she had been afraid, and he listened with genuine interest. She felt heard and understood in a way she had not felt for a long time. They stopped for a break on a small grassy bank. She sat quietly watching the water, and he sat nearby. He offered her water, and she accepted with a smile. They talked about the beauty of the river and the importance of respecting nature. She shared how the river had always made her feel alive, and he shared his love for helping people enjoy it safely. She felt a growing sense of admiration for him and the way he cared about others. As they continued paddling, they found a small, calm cove hidden behind trees and rocks. It was quiet and private, and the water reflected the sky in soft colors. They paused to rest, letting the kayak float gently on the water. They talked about their dreams and hopes and fears. She found herself opening up about personal struggles she had never shared with anyone. She felt safe and encouraged by his calm presence and thoughtful listening. He asked her about the moments in her life that had been meaningful, and she spoke about small victories and acts of kindness she had witnessed. She listened as he shared stories of times he'd rescued others, and how he felt responsible for helping people stay safe. She felt inspired by his courage and compassion. She realized that she had met someone whose values matched hers in unexpected ways. They laughed together as small fish jumped from the water and birds swooped overhead. They shared snacks and drank water and enjoyed the warmth of the sun. She felt a sense of peace she had not known before and noticed how natural it felt to be near him. She found herself watching him when he was not looking, noticing the way he moved confidently through the water and the care in his gestures. She felt a warmth in her chest she could not explain. The afternoon passed slowly, and they moved to a quieter section of the river surrounded by tall trees and soft grass. He pointed out areas where the water was deeper and where it was safe to relax. They let the kayaks drift slowly, feeling the rhythm of the river and the gentle sway of the water. She felt a sense of contentment and joy as they floated together, talking quietly about life and the world around them. At one point, she lost balance again in a small wave, and he reached quickly to steady her. She felt the thrill of the moment and laughed quietly, feeling safe and protected. She noticed how instinctively he responded without hesitation and felt a deep sense of trust. She realized that the connection from the rescue yesterday had grown into something more meaningful, and she felt excitement mixed with nervousness. The sun began to lower toward the horizon. They returned to the bank. They helped each other out of the kayaks and carried them together to the storage area. She felt a sense of accomplishment and pride in herself for navigating the river with his guidance. She also felt a connection that was hard to describe, something that had grown naturally from shared experience and kindness. They sat by the river for a while, watching the water flow. She spoke quietly about her hopes for future adventures, and he shared his plans for helping more people enjoy the river safely. She felt a sense of admiration and respect for his dedication and his gentle nature. They shared moments of silence that felt comfortable and meaningful, as if words were not always necessary to understand each other. He asked if she would like to return the next day for more practice, and she agreed. With a smile, she felt a sense of anticipation and excitement at the thought of spending more time with him. She realized that she looked forward to seeing him not just for the river, but for the conversation, the laughter, and the calm feeling of being understood. She noticed that her heart responded whenever he spoke or smiled. As they walked back toward the small town, she felt a mixture of happiness and reflection. She thought about how quickly life could change and how a single moment could create a connection that felt important. She felt grateful for his patience, his guidance, and the way he had helped her feel confident and safe. She understood that what had started as a rescue had grown into a bond that was meaningful and rare. They stopped at a small cafe by the river and shared a simple meal. She enjoyed the taste of the food, but also enjoyed the conversation and the feeling of being with someone who genuinely cared. Noticed small details about him that made her smile, the way he listened, the way he laughed, the way he encouraged her. She felt a growing affection and curiosity about who he was beyond the river. After the meal, they walked slowly back to the riverbank, feeling the cool air and the soft light of the evening. They talked quietly about the day and shared observations about nature and the river. She felt a sense of calm and connection that was deeper than she had expected. She realized that she had found someone who made her feel safe and inspired. At the same time, as night fell, they parted ways reluctantly. She felt a mixture of happiness and longing and knew that she wanted to see him again. She walked back to her lodging, thinking about the day and writing down moments in her mind that she wanted to remember. She felt a sense of hope and excitement about the future and the possibility of more days like this. He returned home feeling satisfied and thoughtful. He replayed the events of the day in his mind, thinking about her courage and curiosity and the way they had connected. He felt a sense of anticipation for the next day and wondered how their friendship might grow. She had left an impression that was hard to ignore, and he felt that the river had created something rare and meaningful. She fell asleep that night feeling grateful for the river, for his kindness, and for the adventure that had begun. She dreamed of calm water and gentle waves and the feeling of trust and connection. She knew that life had given her a special experience, and that the bond with him was something she wanted to explore further. The river continued to flow quietly, reflecting the moonlight and stars, as if carrying their shared moments along with it. she felt that something had changed within her. That day, a new understanding of courage, kindness, and human connection. She realized that sometimes the simplest gestures and shared experiences could create feelings that lasted far beyond the moment. She felt alive and ready for the days ahead. The next morning would bring another day on the river and another chance to grow their connection. She felt a sense of anticipation and excitement, and knew that she looked forward to learning more from him about the river and about life. She carried a quiet joy and gratitude, knowing that the rescue had led to a friendship and a connection that was meaningful and unforgettable. Sun rose softly again, casting golden light on the water. She felt ready to embrace the day and the adventure waiting for her. She knew that each moment with him and the river would be special, and that she would carry the feeling of this time forever. She smiled quietly, knowing that some encounters could change everything, and that this was only the beginning of a journey that felt alive and full of possibility. The morning sun shone brightly over the river, and the air felt fresh and alive. She walked along the familiar path, feeling excitement in her chest. She thought about the previous days and the connection she had begun to feel. She could not help but smile as she approached the river, knowing he would be there waiting for her. He stood near the bank, watching the water with a careful eye. He looked up as she approached and gave a small smile. She waved and felt a rush of happiness at seeing him. She noticed the calm confidence in the way he moved and the easy way he carried himself. She felt drawn to his presence and a sense of trust that had grown steadily since the rescue. They greeted each other and started walking along the river. She carried the small backpack with snacks and water, and he adjusted the kayak, ready for their morning adventure. They moved slowly, taking in the beauty of the water, the trees, and the birds around them. The river seemed alive, and their conversation flowed naturally as they shared thoughts about life and nature. He showed her a small trail leading to a quiet spot along the river. Where the water was calm and clear, she followed him carefully, enjoying the sound of the leaves under her feet. She noticed how gentle he was, guiding her attention to small things, the movement of the fish, the color of the moss, and the way the sunlight danced on the water. She felt a deep appreciation for his patience and care. They placed the kayaks in the water, and she climbed in with a sense of anticipation. He helped her steady the kayak, and they began paddling slowly down the river. She felt the familiar thrill of the current and the freedom of moving with the water. She listened as he spoke about the river and its moods, and realized how much he knew and respected it. They laughed together when small waves rocked the kayak, and she almost lost balance again. He reached for her hand to steady her, and she felt warmth spread through her chest. She realized that these small gestures made her feel safe and connected, and she enjoyed the quiet intimacy of shared trust. They paddled side by side, feeling the rhythm of the river and the growing bond between them. At one point, they stopped in a shallow area where the water sparkled in the sunlight. He encouraged her to try maneuvering the kayak on her own. She hesitated at first, but then felt a surge of confidence and pushed forward. She paddled carefully, following his instructions, and felt a sense of pride in mastering the movements. She noticed him watching with a quiet smile, and felt a thrill at knowing he believed in her. They drifted to a secluded cove. Hidden by trees and rocks, the water was still and reflected the sky like a mirror. They sat quietly, letting the kayak float as they shared stories about their past adventures. She spoke about times she had pushed herself beyond her fears, and he shared moments when he had helped others in dangerous situations. She listened carefully, feeling admiration for his courage and kindness. They explored the cove together, noticing small animals and birds. She pointed out a heron standing still in the water, and he complimented her observation skills. They laughed quietly at a fish jumping out of the water, and at the way the kayak rocked gently in the current. She felt a lightness in her chest as they shared these small but meaningful moments, and realized that joy could be found in simple things. With simple snacks they had packed, and they sat on the bank enjoying the sun and the sound of the water. They talked about dreams and hopes and fears, and she felt a deep sense of understanding. She realized that she could be completely honest with him without judgment, and that he offered the same openness she felt, a growing trust and a connection that went beyond friendship. After lunch they returned to the river, moving through a stretch with small rapids. he guided her carefully and encouraged her to try navigating on her own. She focused on the water and the paddle, following his instructions, and felt a surge of excitement as she succeeded. She laughed, feeling the thrill, and noticed the proud smile he gave her. She felt a rush of happiness. Knowing that he was there sharing the experience with her, they paused at a quiet spot surrounded by tall trees and soft grass. The sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating patterns on the water. She took a deep breath, feeling the calmness and beauty of the moment. He asked her about the most important lessons she had learned from past experiences. She spoke about courage, patience, and trust, and he nodded. Thoughtfully sharing his own reflections, she felt a deeper respect for his wisdom. In insights, the afternoon went on. They continued exploring small inlets and bends in the river. She noticed how naturally they worked together, helping each other with the kayak and sharing observations about the surroundings. She felt a sense of ease and comfort being with him, and realized that these shared adventures were strengthening their bond. She felt warmth and happiness in a way she had never experienced before. At one point, she lost balance slightly in a shallow wave, and he quickly reached out to steady her. She felt the thrill and security all at once and laughed quietly. He smiled at her reaction, and she noticed the gentleness in his eyes. She realized that the bond between them was growing stronger through these small moments of care and connection. As the sun began to lower, she suggested returning to the bank. They paddled slowly, savoring the last moments on the water. She felt a sense of satisfaction and pride in their shared accomplishments and noticed the growing affection she had for him. He spoke quietly about the importance of enjoying the river and respecting its power. She listened, feeling admiration for his knowledge and character. When they reached the bank, they helped each other out of the kayaks and carried them to the storage area. She felt the muscles in her arms tired, but her heart full. She realized how much she had learned and how comfortable she felt around him. She noticed the calm way he moved and the way he treated her. With care and respect, she felt a quiet excitement about what the next day might bring. They walked slowly along the river, enjoying the evening light. She spoke about the joy she felt in learning new skills and exploring the river. He listened with interest and shared thoughts about his own experiences. She felt a sense of partnership and companionship that was rare and meaningful. She realized that the river had become a place of connection and trust between them. As darkness approached, they returned to the small town. She felt a mixture of contentment and longing. She knew she wanted to see him again and to continue exploring the river together. She felt grateful for the moments they had shared and for the way he had helped her feel confident and capable. She understood that their bond was growing naturally and that it was something she wanted to nurture. They stopped briefly at a small cafe to rest and share a simple meal. She enjoyed the food, but also the conversation and the feeling of being with someone who understood her. He spoke quietly about his love for nature and helping people enjoy it safely. She listened carefully, feeling admiration and respect for his dedication. She felt warmth and happiness at the ease of their connection. After the meal, they walked slowly back to the riverbank, feeling the cool evening air. She noticed the reflection of the sky on the water and the gentle sway of the river. She felt a sense of peace and anticipation for the future. She realized that the connection they had was growing deeper and that she looked forward to spending more time with him exploring the river and life. As night fell, they parted ways reluctantly. She felt a mixture of happiness and longing, knowing that she would see him again. She walked back to her lodging, thinking about the day and the moments that had made her heart feel full. She felt grateful for the river, for his guidance, and for the shared experiences that were becoming meaningful. She knew that the bond between them was something special. She reflected on how quickly life could change and how a single moment of connection could grow into something profound. She thought about the trust she felt and the admiration for his courage and kindness. She realized that the river had become a symbol of new beginnings and that their shared adventures were creating a foundation for something lasting. She felt hope and excitement for what was ahead. He returned home feeling thoughtful and satisfied. He replayed the day in his mind, thinking about her curiosity, courage, and the way she had embraced the river. He felt a quiet joy knowing that their shared experiences had strengthened their connection. He looked forward to seeing her again and exploring more of the river together. She had left an impression that he knew would stay with him for a long time. She asleep thinking about the river, the adventures, and the bond that was growing. She felt grateful for the chance to connect with someone so kind and genuine, she dreamed. Of flowing water and shared laughter, and the feeling of being understood and supported, she knew that life had given her a special experience, and that the connection they were building was something she wanted to cherish. The river continued to flow quietly under the moonlight, reflecting the stars above. It carried the memories of the day and the promise of adventures yet to come. She felt that something important was unfolding, and that their connection was becoming stronger. She realized that courage, trust, and kindness could create bonds that lasted far beyond a single moment, and that the river had brought them together in a meaningful way. Morning would bring another day on the river, and another chance to deepen their connection. She felt anticipation and joy, knowing that each moment with him and the river would be special. She carried hope in her heart and gratitude for the bond that was forming. She understood that life had a way of surprising people, and that the river was only the beginning of a journey full of shared experiences and quiet joy. She looked forward to the next day with excitement and curiosity. She felt alive and ready for adventure and for the connection that was growing between them. She knew that their shared moments on the river were creating memories and feelings that would last. She felt peace and happiness, knowing that some encounters could change everything, and that this was only the beginning of something meaningful. The morning air was cool and fresh as she walked along the familiar path to the river. She felt excitement mixed with a little nervousness, because today, something felt different. She thought about the last few days, about the laughter, the shared moments, and the quiet connection that had grown between them. She wondered how much more she could learn about him, and how much more she wanted to share. He was already near the riverbank, examining the water. He looked up as she approached and gave a small smile. She felt a rush of warmth at seeing him again. The connection between them had grown stronger over the past days, and now she felt a quiet anticipation. She waved, and he waved back, and they began to walk together toward the kayaks, ready for another day of adventure. The river was calm in the morning light, and the sounds of birds and leaves created a peaceful atmosphere. They started paddling slowly, talking quietly about the day ahead. She noticed that she felt more confident in the kayak now, and trusted him completely to guide her when needed. He encouraged her to take small risks and to enjoy the movement of the waterways. They moved along the river. She felt a sense of freedom and joy, but also a subtle worry. She realized that her feelings for him were growing stronger, and she was not sure how to express them. She noticed little gestures. She appreciated the way he guided the kayak with patience, the way he smiled at her small successes, and the way he listened with genuine attention. She felt her heart beating faster and a flutter of nerves. They paused for a break at a quiet spot surrounded by tall trees. She sat on the grass, feeling the warmth of the sun, and he sat nearby. They shared snacks and water and talked about small things, but she felt the weight of unspoken thoughts. She wondered if he felt the same way about her, or if she was imagining the connection. She felt a mixture of excitement and doubt, and wished she could understand her own heart as they continued. On the river, they came to a section with stronger currents. She noticed her confidence waver and hesitated before moving forward. He encouraged her gently, telling her she could do it, and that he was there to guide her. She focused on the water and the paddle and moved carefully, following his instructions. She felt a rush of pride when she succeeded, and noticed the approving look he gave her. She felt both exhilaration and a growing attachment. After navigating the currents, they found a calm area where the water reflected the sky. She leaned back in the kayak, feeling the sun on her face and the gentle sway of the water. She realized how comfortable she felt around him, and how easy it was to be herself. She noticed small details about him that made her smile: the way he adjusted the paddle, the way he observed the water, and the way he seemed to care about everything around him. They spent the afternoon exploring small inlets and quiet corners of the river. She pointed out birds and fish, and he complimented her observations. They laughed quietly when the kayak tilted unexpectedly and helped each other maintain balance. She felt a sense of teamwork and partnership that was rare. She realized that their connection had grown beyond friendship and into something deeper and meaningful. At one point, She hesitated before entering a narrow channel. She felt unsure and afraid of losing balance again. He noticed her hesitation and reached out to steady her. She felt a wave of gratitude and warmth. In a realization of how much she relied on him, she felt her heart stir in ways she had not expected, and wondered if he felt the same way. She wanted to express her feelings but could not find the words as the sun began to lower toward the horizon. They returned to a bank and sat quietly on the grass. She felt a mix of relief from the day and longing for more time together. He spoke softly about the beauty of the river and the importance of respecting its power. She listened carefully, feeling admiration and a quiet affection. She realized that she valued these moments more than anything, and that she wanted them to continue. They walked slowly along the river, reflecting on the day. She spoke about the lessons she had learned and the joy of mastering the kayak. He listened intently and shared thoughts about his own experiences on the river. She felt a growing connection and noticed how much she enjoyed his company. She felt excitement for the days ahead, but also a subtle sadness that time was limited because she would eventually have to leave. As the evening approached, they reached the small town. She felt a mixture of happiness from the day and worry about how to express her feelings. She wanted to tell him that she cared more deeply than before, but did not want to make things awkward. She realized that sometimes life required courage, not just in adventure, but in sharing emotions. She felt her heart ache with uncertainty and hoped they stopped at a small cafe to rest. She enjoyed the quiet moment and the warmth of the tea. She noticed the way he looked at her when he thought she was not watching and felt a flutter in her chest. They spoke about the river and small details from the day. She felt a sense of intimacy in the conversation and noticed how easy it was to be around him. She wanted to linger in the moment and not let it end after the meal. They walked back toward the riverbank, feeling the soft, cool air. She noticed the reflection of the sky on the water and the gentle sway of the river. She realized that the bond between them was growing stronger and that she wanted to explore it more. She felt excitement and nervousness at the thought of what could happen next. She wished she had the courage to speak openly about her feelings. As night fell, they parted ways reluctantly. She walked back to her lodging, thinking about the day and the emotions that had surfaced. She reflected on her admiration for his patience, courage, and kindness. She realized that she had developed feelings that went beyond friendship and that she wanted to share them. She felt hope and fear at the same time, not knowing if he felt the same way. He returned home feeling thoughtful and reflective. He replayed the day in his mind, thinking about her curiosity, bravery, and the way she had grown confident on the river. He felt a quiet joy knowing that their connection was deepening. He wondered if she felt the same way about him and hoped that the bond they shared could become something more meaningful. He carried anticipation for the next day. She lay in bed thinking about the moments they had shared. She felt gratitude for the river, for the adventures, and for his presence. She realized that she had found someone whose values and personality matched hers in ways that felt rare. She felt a growing affection and wondered how to express it. She closed her eyes, hoping that time would provide the courage she needed to share her feelings. The river flowed quietly under the moonlight, reflecting the stars. Above it carried the memories of their shared experiences and the promise of moments yet to come. She felt that something important was unfolding and that their connection was becoming deeper. She realized that trust, patience, and kindness could create bonds that lasted far beyond the moment. She felt anticipation for the future. The next morning would bring another day on the river and another chance to explore feelings and deepen their bond. She felt excitement and curiosity, knowing that each moment with him and the river would be special. She carried hope and gratitude in her heart, knowing that the connection they were building was meaningful. She understood that life had a way of creating opportunities to connect deeply and that she wanted to embrace them. She looked forward to the day with anticipation. She felt alive and ready for adventure and for the growing bond between them. She realized that their shared moments on the river were creating memories and feelings that would last. She felt peace and happiness, knowing that some encounters could change everything and that this was the beginning of something special and unforgettable. The morning sun lit the river with soft golden light, and she felt a flutter of excitement in her chest. She walked along the familiar path, feeling the anticipation Of seeing him again, she thought about the past days, the laughter, shared moments, and the quiet understanding that had grown between them. She wondered if today would bring clarity to the feelings that had been stirring inside her. He was waiting. Near the riverbank, examining the water with careful eyes, he looked up as she approached and gave a gentle smile. She waved quietly and felt warmth spread through her chest. The connection they shared had deepened over the last days, and now she felt a quiet nervousness mixed with hope. She felt drawn to him in a way that was new and compelling. They greeted each other with small smiles and began walking toward the kayaks. The river looked calm yet alive with gentle ripples. They moved together. Placing the kayaks in the water and climbing in, she felt the familiar thrill of being on the river and the excitement of being with him. She noticed the ease of his movements, the calmness in his voice, and the way he seemed to understand her without words. As they paddled slowly along the river, she felt her heart beating faster. She realized that the bond between them was stronger than she had expected. She wanted to tell him how she felt, but the words seemed too fragile for the depth of her emotions. She focused on the rhythm of the water and the paddle and allowed herself to enjoy the moment, trusting that the connection between them was already significant. They stopped in a quiet cove where the water was still and reflected the sky. She leaned back in the kayak, feeling the gentle sway of the water and the warmth of the sun. He sat nearby and spoke softly about the beauty of the river and the importance of being present. She listened intently, feeling a sense of intimacy and peace that was rare. She realized that she wanted this moment to last forever. She spoke quietly about her hopes and dreams, about the things she valued most, and the moments that had shaped her. She noticed that he listened with careful attention. In genuine interest, she felt a growing admiration for his wisdom and kindness, and a deep appreciation for his presence. She realized that she trusted him completely, and that the connection they shared was becoming essential to her. He asked her about the moments that had made her feel most alive, and she spoke about small adventures and challenges she had faced. She shared the joy and fear and triumph she had experienced. She noticed the way he encouraged her to continue and the way he admired her courage. She felt her heart open and knew that she wanted to share more of herself with him. They drifted slowly on the river, talking quietly about life and future plans. Notice how natural it felt to be with him, how comfortable and safe and understood. She felt the warmth of the sun and the calm of the water and the quiet presence of someone who would become important. She realized that she was ready to express the feelings that had been growing inside her. She took a deep breath and spoke quietly, telling him how much she valued his guidance and kindness and the connection they had shared. She spoke about the way her heart responded to his presence and the joy she felt when she was with him. She noticed a gentle smile cross his face and felt hope rising in her chest. He listened carefully and reached out to hold her hand gently. Spoke softly about his own feelings about the river, about the moments they had shared, and about the connection he felt with her. He admitted that he had noticed her curiosity, courage, and kindness, and that he felt drawn to her in ways he had not expected. She felt her chest fill with relief and happiness. She realized that their feelings were mutual and that the bond they had formed was real and strong. They sat quietly, holding hands, feeling the calm water and the warmth of the sun. She felt a sense of completion and beginning all at once. She realized that the river had brought them together in a way that was unexpected and extraordinary. She felt gratitude for the shared moments, the laughter, the lessons, and the growing affection that had blossomed into something deep. They paddled slowly back along the river, talking quietly and sharing small smiles. She felt a lightness in her heart and a sense of peace. She noticed the way he looked at her with care and attention, and felt a thrill of joy. She realized that their connection was now something they both acknowledged and cherished. She felt a quiet certainty that this bond would continue to grow. At one point they paused at a small grassy bank. She stepped out of the kayak, and he followed. Her feet touched the soft grass, and she felt the warmth of the earth. She noticed the sunlight catching the water and the gentle sway of the river. She felt a deep sense of happiness and freedom. She knew that the connection between them was something rare and beautiful. They walked slowly along the riverbank, holding hands and talking. Quietly she felt the excitement of shared understanding and the joy of mutual affection. She noticed the way his presence made her feel safe and inspired. She realized that she wanted to spend more time with him, exploring not just the river, but life itself. She felt a deep contentment and anticipation for what the future could hold. As the sun lowered toward the horizon, they stopped at a quiet spot by the water. She spoke softly about the moments that had mattered most to her, and he listened attentively. She felt her heart open completely and noticed that he was doing the same. She realized that they were both ready to embrace the feelings that had grown naturally from shared experience and kindness. He spoke gently about the impact she had on him, and the way her curiosity, courage, and laughter had become important. He expressed his desire to continue exploring the river together and to nurture the connection they had discovered. She felt a wave of happiness and relief. She realized that the river had not just been a place of adventure, but a place where love had quietly taken root. They sat together quietly, watching the water reflect the colors of the sky. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the shared experiences, the challenges, the laughter, and the moments of trust. She realized that the bond between them was stronger than she had imagined, and that it had grown naturally from courage, patience, and kindness. She felt a sense of completeness and hope as evening fell. They returned to the bank and carried the kayaks together. She felt the warmth of his hand and the strength of his presence. She noticed the quiet understanding in his eyes and felt a thrill of connection. She realized that the feelings she had nurtured were now mutual and that the bond they shared was solid and meaningful. They walked slowly back to the small town, savoring the remaining light of the day. She spoke quietly about the adventures and the joy of learning together. He listened with genuine interest and admiration. She felt her heart swell with happiness. She realized that the connection they had was rare and precious, and that it had grown from courage and kindness into something deeper. At a small cafe by the river, they paused to rest. She enjoyed the moment and the warmth of being together. She felt the joy of mutual understanding and the peace of shared silence. He spoke softly about his appreciation for the time they had spent together and his hope for future adventures. She felt a thrill of happiness knowing that the bond between them was recognized and cherished. After the meal, they walked along the river, enjoying the cool evening air. She noticed the reflection of the moonlight on the water and the gentle sway of the river. She felt a sense of calm and anticipation for the future. She realized that their connection had become something lasting and meaningful, and that they both valued it deeply. She felt excitement and contentment as night fell. They reluctantly parted ways. She felt happiness from the day and hope for the future. She knew that the bond they had formed was strong, and that the river had been the beginning of something extraordinary. She walked back to her lodging thinking about the connection she had discovered and the shared moments that had brought them together. She felt peace and joy. He returned home feeling thoughtful and reflective. He thought about the day, the shared experiences, and the moments that had deepened their connection. He felt gratitude for the trust and openness they had shared and anticipation for the days to come. He knew that their bond had grown into something special and meaningful that would continue to develop. She lay in bed thinking about the river, the adventures, and the connection that had grown. She felt grateful for the courage that had brought her to the river and the kindness that had guided her. She realized that love could grow quietly from shared experiences and understanding. She felt excitement for the future and a sense of contentment, knowing that the bond between them was real and enduring. The river flowed silently under the moonlight, reflecting the stars above, carrying memories of their shared adventures and the promise of future moments. She felt that something important had begun, and that the connection between them was now recognized and mutual. She realized that courage, trust, and kindness had created a bond that would last. She felt anticipation for the new adventures and the growing love between them. The next morning would bring another day and another chance to explore the river together. She felt joy in the anticipation and gratitude for the connection that had grown. She knew that each moment with him would be special and meaningful. She carried hope and excitement in her heart, knowing that their love had begun naturally from courage, patience, and kindness. She looked forward to the future with happiness and peace. She felt alive and ready for adventure, and for the growing bond between them. She realized that the river had been the beginning of a journey that would continue to bring joy, understanding, and love. She felt contentment knowing that some encounters could change everything, and that theirs had led to something unforgettable.